think hierarchy has indeed fallen out of fashion. I think this is a development that has started probably 60 years ago or so, when students across the Western world were protesting against the Vietnam War. And I think at that time hierarchy was increasingly equated with oppression, was increasingly equated with a lack of personal freedom and self-expression. And this is, I think, a trend, a tendency that has also grown in recent decades. Development that we've seen in organizations is that they have moved towards less and less layers of hierarchy. Organizations have realized we can save a lot of money if we cut out essentially the middle management in the organization. But we also see that the larger organizations have become, the more employees feel stifled by the bureaucratic aspect and by the restrictions that come with the size of huge organizations. And so organizations are trying to walk this fine balance of managing thousands of people and aligning them, and it requires hierarchy to do that, but at the same time still providing enough autonomy and flexibility. A challenge with hierarchies is that oftentimes employees are not fully aware of the important functions that hierarchies serve for their own work. Sometimes employees perceive that as bureaucratic, as undermining their own freedom, when in the absence of hierarchy, they would not be able to do their job, because everybody would be contacting everyone and everybody would have initiatives and ideas, and that would not lead to a good outcome. Sometimes when I talk to my students, there's a misconception that hierarchy is bad per se, and we have to dismantle structures, and that would be oversimplified. There are indeed situations in which hierarchy is important. To give you a few, we have gone through radical changes in the last couple of years where societies, organizations around the world had to pivot very fast. And this was only possible when you had leaders calling the shots within little time that they had available to take these decisions. Those are not moments where you can self-organize, where you can bring out sort of the proactive potential of every person in a society or organization. Hierarchy can also be important when organizations are operating in more stable environments, where there are few environmental changes, where the emphasis is on efficiency as opposed to innovation. Hierarchy can also be important when it comes to resolving conflicts. It's something that we see with teams here at the Smith School and our professional master programs. Most of the time they get on really well. It's a wonderful experience. But you've also got the random team where two individuals collide and nobody is there to sort of resolve that conflict. And then it requires coaches and it requires some intervention to get the team back, but it shows how hierarchy can facilitate that, can prevent teams from having these destructive tendencies as well. And finally, strong leaders serve as a source of identification in organizations. And that can obviously be a good thing and a bad thing, depending on the personality and the goals of the leaders. I think there are many situations in which self-managing teams shine. When we have got organizations that need to adapt really fast to changing environments. Oftentimes, the employees who are in direct contact with customers, they know firsthand how customer demands are evolving and are changing, not the CEO at the top of the organization. Self-managing teams can oftentimes trip themselves up when they become too chaotic. And self-management should not be misunderstood for a chaotic, everything goes mentality. So when you have got no structures in place, no goals, it is not defined who does what at what point in time, when it is unclear how the team is going to resolve conflicts, those are the types of situations in which teams self-destruct. There are ways in which we can work against that. So if self-managing teams, if they are given goals, if they're given clear responsibilities, and a common source of identification. We live in a world in which most societies have become increasingly diverse. And that has, on the one hand, I think, led to experiences that many people and societies affirm, the experience of diversity and the positive aspects that come from it. But we have also seen, for example, in Europe, the emergence of a far right that is calling for hierarchical leadership and for re-emphasis on national identity. I think organizations or societies should recognize that hierarchical leaders are one of many different ways in which people can rally around a cause. And there are others. You do not necessarily need to have this one strong leader that issues this rallying cry around an ideology. And if anything, I think what the last few years have shown us, and also for myself as a German, what history in the 20th century has shown us, that can become dangerous very easily.